We're outside a rather nondescript building in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Could be an auto repair shop or maybe a warehouse, but it's not. It's the studio of artist Steve Uren. Inside this gray box is where Steve's quality furniture, with its striking details and functional design, come to life. Home accent clocks and shelves that are also individual art pieces. Even a simple cutting board becomes an art fair showpiece. Let's go inside and meet Steve and take a look around. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I am doing well. Man, you run the gambit with cutting boards and beds and tables and all kinds of things. Tell us a little bit about the product line.
Well, I make a lot of things. I make a lot of furniture, wood sculpture, clocks, like you mentioned, cutting boards. I make big, huge commission pieces to small, little, tiny clocks. Um, I do it because I love it, and so I get just as much satisfaction out of making the smallest little thing as I do the largest thing.
How'd you get started?
I've always had creative tendencies ever since I was little, and my grandfather was a woodworker as a hobbyist, and he built a cabin in Upper Michigan way before I was born, and he built it from the ground up. He salvaged even old nails from barns to help put it together, and he just got pieces
Cool.
together, and then he built all the furniture for it, and then once he retired, he did a lot of carving, and he was just a really good woodworker, and I always admired it. So when I kind of decided I wanted to follow some kind of creative path, woodworking was just the natural place to go.
Now, furniture is one thing, art is entirely different. What I'm captivated by is your selection of material to make these wonderful creations out of.
Yes. I use only domestic hardwoods, mostly from the Midwest and Michigan, precisely. Most of the hardwoods that I get, like the figured hardwoods, I should say, like curly maple, bird's eye maple, flame birch, all come from Upper Michigan. And then you can see I sort through a lot of my material, like you can see me doing here, looking for the perfect piece for the idea that I have. Um,
Now,
then
now
I
how do you select the wood? I mean, are you pretty fussy about exactly what kind of material you want to work with?
I yeah, I am. I mean, I get the idea of what I'm going to make, and then I go through my lumber piles. I've got lots and lots of lumber, and I should say I don't go out and purchase lumber for a project. I buy a lot of lumber, and then I'm able to go through it looking for the right piece for that particular project.
How much lumber would you have on stock at any given time?
I usually have about 2,000 board feet on hand.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a lot
and
of a lot of tables and chairs, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And I try not to make any scrap. And you can see here I'm making my own veneer out of some tiger maple, just
Ooh,
resawing
very,
it.
very nice. Yeah.
And this is actually going to be a custom entertainment center for some folks in Florida.
Oh, wow. So you have standard items and then custom items as well?
Yes, I do. So I do the art fairs, and I meet people who like my aesthetics, my designs, and they want something maybe specific based on my designs. So they may see a table that I have, and they like the design, but it's too big or too small. They might want to get a bigger one or a smaller one.
And and when you're cutting pieces and assembling your project, I mean, how do you fasten that together? Do you use nails or do you use other materials or
It's mostly glue and tenons and some joiner, just different woodworking joinery. I don't use any nails. Um,
I,
Occasionally, I'll use some wood screws.
I see here that you're gluing two pieces together and you're going to clamp them. Is that
Yes,
for one of your cutting boards or a tabletop
that's
or?
actually going to be a tabletop for a small little plant stand style table that I make called my August table, and it's about 12 inches by 12 inches square, and it's one of my better selling designs. So this will eventually be a small tabletop.
Oh wow, it's kind of interesting to see the table in progress,
Yeah.
and and it's not often that we get to go inside the shop either and
No,
actually watch you work.
no, I do work alone, so not I'm rarely being watched.
You're really being watched. Okay, yeah. Well, I see on the video that you're clamping that together. And how long does that take to set up and dry before you can work with it again?
Usually I clamp it, leaving the clamps for about half an hour or 45 minutes,
Oh,
and then
that
I
quick.
can I can start working with it then, but it doesn't fully cure for about 24 hours.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. Now, once you're done, the pieces have all been crafted, and then you have to put some kind of a finish on it. And what is your preference there?
I spray a moisture resistant lacquer in a spray booth, obviously. And here you see me spraying some table legs. Actually, that's going to be a small credenza or the cabinet style table cabinet.
Now, when with the spray lacquer, is there any color with that, or is that a clear lacquer?
It's a clear coat, yeah, and it has a UV protectant in it, which is
Oh,
really, really nice. It keeps a lot of the lighter woods from turning darker and a lot of the darker woods from turning lighter. So I don't stain or dye any of my work. So keeping the natural colors of the wood is pretty important to me.
well, that was sort of my next question. It's just the natural beauty of the wood itself that's coming through.
Yes, yes.
I imagine that is part of the attraction to your pieces because it's one thing to stain and lacquer. It's quite another thing to really bring out the natural beauty of the material itself.
Right. And it's just so cool to actually stand there and spray some wood with some really high figure that the figuring just pops out of like a high figured tiger maple or something. It's instant gratification. It just explodes with character.
Now, how many coats is that, Steve? Do you sand and then spray again?
Yeah, I do 3 coats. So I'll let it dry, and then once it's dry, I'll sand it lightly, and then I'll dust it off, and then I'll spray it again.
Now, once you get all of these pieces, then you just kind of go into the final assembly and
Yeah, I do. I assemble it all, and one of the things I like to do when I finish a piece, like this is a custom table for some great customers. I like to put it together like I'm doing here, and then stand back and look at it and just take it all in. That's one of my rituals, I guess.
I have to ask you this: do you ever look at something and say, "I don't like it, and I won't ship it"?
Nah, not that I've made as a commission. I have made pieces that I'm not real thrilled about, and I don't show them. Sometimes they end up in my home. So, you know,
That's what I'm saying. It's just
yeah,
like a chef eating his mistakes.
right, 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 right.
Well, that is interesting, and obviously, if you take on a piece of custom design, it's to the specifications of your customer, is it not?
Yeah, yeah. And they always get a drawn out design. Since everything's handmade, I actually write it out on a pencil and I send them a design and with
Hmm.
complementing pictures of other things I've done and different designs. And so they already know what they're going to get. So I make sure that they understand it as much as I do.
Now, one of the things I was going to ask you about is, with the pandemic going on and everything, how have things changed for you? You're obviously not being able to get out to art shows all over the country.
No, it hasn't. So I've been doing more work online through my website, um, and doing promoting some more custom work. Right there's a some flame birch right there in two nightstands. This is part of a bedroom set commission that I'm doing. And I really miss the art shows. I miss talking with my customers and meeting new people, and traveling to some pretty amazing places.
Any place in particular that's your favorite?
Madison, Wisconsin is one of my favorite places. I really enjoy the people and the towns there. I can't say that I dislike anywhere I've ever been, but I certainly have some better markets, I could say, like Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. Chicago is a very, very fun place for me to sell my work. Kansas,
Kansas.
um, or Kansas City, sorry, Missouri.
Okay. Now you've been at this a long time, Steve, and so many pieces and so many creations. Where do you get your ideas and what inspires you?
I've been doing this for 20 years, and I still have more ideas than time to make them happen. So my ideas I just literally get ideas in my head. I kind of think of something that would it just pops into my head, and then I kind of think about the size, and then I go through my lumber piles and find the right piece for that top, or if the focal point's going to be like a cabinet door front, then I'll start looking for perfect woods for that and for the idea, and I make it.
Well, this has been a delight visiting with you, and I know you want to get back in the shop and get after your craft,
Yeah.
but I appreciate you taking the time and visiting with us.
Oh, I appreciate you guys as well.
Well, Steve, we'll let you go. Thanks, brother. Now,
All right,
there's a
thank you.
lot more to see and many more artists to meet. So let's join again for the Thomas William Furniture Virtual Art Gallery behind the scenes.